Hello, Borodar. Thank you for inviting me to be part of Bangor Garth Pier's 125th anniversary celebrations. My name is Anya Chapman and I'm an academic who specialises in tourism management at Bournemouth University. I'm also a member of the National Piers Society Executive Committee. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about peering into the future. So in this very brief talk I want to peer into the past and examine how seaside piers and specifically Bangor Garth Pier have developed over the years. I then want to change our attention to the main challenges currently faced by seaside piers and the three different types of seaside pier that can be found around the UK's coastline. And finally, I want to try and peer into the future and to see what Bangor Garth might do to ensure that it celebrates its 250th anniversary, and a quick look at a couple of piers around the UK and what they're doing to secure their future. Most of what we're covering in this talk is based on the peer review report, which provided a sustainability toolkit for seaside piers. It was funded by the Coastal Revival Fund and commissioned by Blackpool Council. As you know, Blackpool has 3 seaside piers and they want to ensure that they are around for future generations to enjoy. I can only really give a brief insight into the future of seaside piers today, so if you want to know more, the report can be accessed for free from the National Piers Society website. The first British seaside resorts really began to develop by the mid-18th century. Of course, there were no railways in the 1750s, so the main way to travel to the new resorts was by sea. However, there was a problem with getting ashore, and so landing stages were built. At Bangor, although the railway had arrived in 1848, Garth Pier was developed as a landing stage for the Garth ferry, which ran between Bangor and Menai Bridge. Of course, Garth Pier was opened 125 years ago. However, these landing stages are not actually classified as seaside piers. The National Piers Society often debate what is a seaside pier, and they came up with 3 criteria. So a seaside pier has to have some sort of facility for entertainment or pleasure. The pier also has to have public access. It has to be accessible to the public even if it's currently closed. And the pier has to be stood in salt water. So, in terms of Bangor Garth, although the landing stages, as we've just seen, are quite plain and functional structures, they're not actually seaside piers. Bangor Garth, although originally primarily constructed as a landing stage for ferries, like many of these structures, Bangor Garth soon began to develop facilities for entertainment, including things such as musical acts and pierots. Thus, within 10 years of its opening, Bangor Garth had become a seaside pleasure pier. However, it hasn't always been plain sailing for seaside piers, and Bangor Garth has faced a number of challenges over the years. As we can see in the picture, in 1914 the SS Christiana collided with the pier, taking out 150 foot of the pier's neck. By the 1930s, ferry passenger numbers were in decline, and the seabed between Garth and the Menai Bridge started silting up. Like many seaside piers during World War II, Bangor Garth was sectioned. That means that a section was cut out of the pier to deter enemy troops from landing on the pier. And in the post-war, a lack of investment resulted in Bangor Garth being closed during the 1970s. However, in 1975, the pier was sold to Bangor City Council for the nominal sum of 1 pence. The pier gained listed status and fundraising for the pier's restoration began, culminating in the reopening of the pier on the 7th of May 1988. More recently, the pier has required further refurbishment and repair, and To their credit, Bangor City Council have once again triumphed by investing a significant sum in the pier's future and with further restoration plans in the pipeline. However, all seaside piers faced continuing challenges. Most piers around the UK coast are now circa 150 years old, and the repairs and maintenance of the pier's substructures is incredibly costly, coupled with the inherent risks associated with pier structures such as fire, drifting vessels, and so on. This all adds up to a very expensive challenge and very expensive insurance costs. Of the UK's 63 surviving piers, 34 are in private ownership, which means that they can't access grants or other funding streams. The predicted sea level rise of between 1 to 2 metres within the next 100 years might be seen as an issue for the long-term sustainability of seaside piers, but a more imminent threat is storm surges, which have become increasingly frequent and increasingly intense in recent years. And more recently, the global pandemic has had an immediate impact as all British seaside piers were forced to close for the first time in their history. Of course, this has had an impact on piers' income and a subsequent effect on the maintenance and repair budgets for piers. But it's not all bad news. There are, as I mentioned, 63 surviving seaside pleasure piers recognised by the National Piers Society in the UK, including, as highlighted in bold, the 7 in Wales. Now, it's estimated that 70% of visitors to the coast visit a pier during their stay. And there have been some recent additions to the National Piers Society Seaside Pier list. Folkestone Harbour Arm was added in the last few years, Sunderland Roker Pier and Fort William Pier up in Scotland. More recently, in the last month or so, Shotley Pier in Suffolk, which was a former railway pier, which is being regenerated as a seaside pier, has been added, and the Revo Pier in Weston-super-Mare, which has recently been redeveloped by the owners of Weston's Grand Pier. And, of course, reinstated on the list in 2021 is Colwyn Bay Pier, which has reopened this year. From the peer review report, all seaside piers in the UK were researched and categorised into 3 different types, and I want to have a look at these 3 different types with you because it helps to understand where Bangor Garth actually sits in these 3 different types. The first type that I want to have a look at is the seaside special. We can think of seaside special piers as being the traditional seaside pier for the fun fairs, the candy floss and the amusement arcades. And these piers have got a mass appeal to visitors and are used by their local communities for things such as special events, fishing or out of season strolls. The key target market for these piers is families. 25 piers in the UK are classed as seaside special piers. 80% of these piers in this category are in commercial or private sector ownership, and the remaining 20% are in public sector ownership, with attractions and facilities often leased to commercial tenants. Seaside special piers in Wales include Llandudno and Mumbles Pier. The next category of pier is the 21st century innovator piers, and these piers offer all-weather attractions such as events, venues, rock climbing facilities, art galleries, cinemas, bars and quality restaurants, and they're utilised by local communities out of season. The key markets for these type of piers are families with older children and the 18 to 35 age group. In the UK, 13 piers currently operate within this category, and 75% of them are commercial sector, with 25% operating through partnerships with commercial or third sector organisations. Good examples of 21st century innovator piers within Wales include Aberystwyth and Penarth. And lastly, I want to turn our attention to the heritage pier category. These piers are valued by their local communities, who view them very much as a key leisure and recreation facilities, and are also well loved by visitors who enjoy the nostalgia of a visit to a heritage pier. Heritage piers often have an open deck with original features such as kiosks and pavilions. They might also have their landing stages. The key target market is the mature family market and those aged 50 plus. There are currently 21 piers along the UK coast classified as heritage piers, and the majority of these are in public or third sector ownership. In Wales, heritage piers include the newly restored truncated pier at Colwyn Bay, Bournemouth Pier, and of course, Bangor Garth. The peer review report examined best practice examples of all three types of seaside piers, and a pier sustainability toolkit was developed. In this talk, I want to focus on the sustainability toolkit for heritage piers and consider what Bangor Garth is doing well, alongside potential opportunities for the pier going forward. These sustainability issues are focused on 8 key areas, the first of which is being the ownership and operational models. And since 2020, the Friends of Bangor Garth Pier have been actively involved in the operation of the pier in partnership with Bangor City Council, which continues to own and maintain the pier. In addition, the kiosks and pavilion are leased to commercial enterprises. In this respect, Bangor Garth is operating a creative and sustainable operational model. In terms of the strategic mission, Bangor Garth is operating on the basis of maximising the benefits of the pier to the local community while preserving the pier's heritage. However, it's possible that the future strategic goals or targets for the pier require further consideration, especially after all the recent investment in restoring the pier. In terms of revenue generation, Bangor Garth has improved the monitoring of the pier toll and now has a programme of events. For the future, the development of a multi-purpose visitor centre that can be used as an exhibition centre, maybe a wedding venue, a community hub or an indoor event space might provide further income generating opportunities. If we think about it, Bangor Garth has the very fortunate position of having ample space in front of the pier which could house a visitor centre. When we turn our attention to marketing and promotion, recently the pier has hosted a wide range of events and also featured more prominently in Bangor's marketing and news features. To develop the marketing of the pier further, joint marketing with other heritage attractions in the local area, or maybe sponsorship of pier events with commercial enterprises may increase the profile and awareness of the pier. If we turn our attention to human resource management, the pier benefits from a great maintenance team and a group of enthusiastic volunteers in the form of the Friends of Bangor Garth Pier group. Although the cost might be prohibitive, the general manager for the pier might be worth their weight in gold for the benefits that they might bring, maybe bid writing, marketing, operations management and fundraising skills. If we think about investment priorities, the ongoing regeneration and refurbishment of Bangor Garth Pier has been hugely successful, but the pier remains predominantly an outdoor facility with demand for visiting the pier dropping off in poor weather. As already mentioned, an all-weather facility could counteract this. All piers have to overcome challenges, and as we've seen, Bangor Garth seems to be riding above these challenges at this moment in time, as long as the impetus is maintained by all the stakeholders involved in the pier. The monitoring and evaluation of all piers is key to their future sustainability, so that any issues or problems can be quickly identified and resolved. While Bangor Garth Pier structure is regularly monitored, keeping track of visitor numbers and spend might be useful to track trends, and visitor surveys can ensure that the pier offers events, products and services that customers want. Now that we've considered some of the key aspects of sustainable heritage piers, I want to turn our attention to two heritage piers that are putting many of these elements into action, and those piers are Swanage Pier and Clevedon Pier. Swanage Pier has been owned and operated by the Swanage Pier Trust charity since 1994, when the pier was sold by the Town Council for the nominal sum of £1. The pier was in a precarious state with significant damage to the structure, but the Trust began their fundraising activities and successfully secured £1 million to restore the pier, which reopened in 1998. Since then, the Trust's form and function has changed as they have moved from saving the structure towards securing a sustainable future for the pier. Swanage Pier is marketed as a heritage pier, which complements other attractions in the region. Swanage Pier links to other heritage attractions within the local area, such as the Swanage Railway, the Dylston Country Park and Swanage Museum, in cross-promotional activities. The Dylston Explorer bus route effectively packages the attractions into a coherent visitor experience. The pier also partners with commercial businesses. The original toll booth at the entrance to the pier advertises the pier's link with city cruises, which sail from the pier's landing stage. And the Divers Down diving school business is also located on the pier. Swanage Pier Trust has been successful in securing a number of external funding bids in addition to fundraising through crowdfunding events and plank sponsorship schemes. In 2019, Swanage Pier reopened after significant refurbishment and the conversion of the Marine Villas, which is a building located at the front of the pier, and this was converted into a visitor centre, cafe, gift shop, meeting and venue facility, and also a community radio station at a total cost of £2.2 million, which was raised from external funding bids and fundraising activities. The range of facilities now housed on the pier will enable a self-sufficient future for Swanage Pier. The pier currently attracts 125,000 visitors per annum and contributes both directly and indirectly over 2.1 million to the local economy. This is Clevedon Pier. It's currently the National Pier Society Pier of the Year. It opened in 1869 and it is the only Grade 1 listed pier in the UK. Sir John Betjeman described it as the most beautiful pier in England. Part of the pier collapsed in the 1970s and was saved from demolition by the Clevedon Pier Trust. The pier was rebuilt and reopened in 1989, and in 1998 it was fully restored with a grant of £3.2 million from the Heritage Lottery Fund. Clevedon Pier's new Heritage Centre was opened in the summer of 2016 and was funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund, the Coastal Community Fund and a community share scheme at the cost of £2 million. The visitor centre features an education centre, a pier history exhibition, a cafe and a wedding venue, and a spectacular under the pier venue with the unique porthole window to view the pier's very graceful legs. As a charity community-owned pier, Clevedon Pier's redevelopment has proved to be an asset that the whole community is proud of. It targets a variety of markets in order to ensure the pier's future sustainability. So in this brief talk, I've considered some potential opportunities for the future of heritage piers such as Bangor Garth. Like many seaside piers, Bangor Garth has stood the test of time and it has reached its 125th anniversary year in style. Peering into the future is not an exact science. Who knows what the future holds? But Piers are cherished and loved by their visitors and their local communities, and I'm sure Bangor will continue to cherish its pier for the next 125 years and beyond. My thanks for viewing this talk today, and I look forward to seeing you on the pier soon.